you're feeling worried about what's going on in the country, I just wanted to give you a little update on what I'm seeing going on in the country. So, there's been some real funny business going on with the stock market. It feels like a lot of timing stuff, both the fraud that Elon Musk has been doing, like moving assets around and transferring things. Also, the timing of the tariffs with Trump seems like something was afoot with that timing, like they wanted it to happen around now for some reason. A lot of their plans have not gone the way they wanted. And it's funny, they mess something up and then they just go, oh, I was trying to do that. I totally meant to do that the whole time. So while we think, oh, there's some grand scheme happening, a lot of the time it's just like accidental, destructive teenage boy energy. I said last time, we are seeing the dismantling of the central government in the hope that it returns the populace to a belief in capitalism. So if we remove all the social services, people will just have to rely on private companies for their well-being. But that line of thinking is really flawed because it says that if we release people into individual choice, their individual choice will be to privatize everything. And as we're seeing, people are using their individual choice to say, fuck you, we're gonna become a collective. And we're having a hard time doing that. Everyone's still running in different directions. We're having trouble being a swarm of fish that's gonna scare a shark. But we're figuring it out. We have suffered from like 80 or 90 years of rugged individualism in this country. We don't really know how to do this, and we're figuring it out. Energetically, I feel people easing up on the boycotts, which kind of sucks, and they're just like falling into old habits. And then when something shitty happens, they'll double down again and they'll become committed again. So we're still workshopping that and we will figure it out. I have a feeling that it'll probably come about through religious communities first, probably from churches who don't toe the line of the right and who don't have the wool pulled over their eyes, or other communities that are able to have a lot of solidarity right now. The administration is doing two opposite things which don't make sense together. The first is to implement white supremacist, fascist ideals such as segregation/apartheid, subjugation of minorities and queer people and anyone who is not a part of like a Norman Rockwell painting, and then simultaneously destroying the power of the central government, removing the faith of the people in the central government. You don't do those two things together. If you are doing fascism, then you have to have a strong central government so that you can come around and bully everybody militarily. And this doing two things that are opposites, destroying the government while trying to implement fascism, it comes from that white evangelical Republican bent. This ideology could have only formed in a very specific Goldilocks time in American history where we had so much wealth, we had so much belief in capitalism's ability to bring prosperity to people. And I really see Project 2025 as the true believers in that system trying to play out their fantasy. But this fantasy doesn't exist, and it definitely doesn't come from the economic period that we've been in for the last 30 years or so. And so, as they continue to destroy the government, it is not going to be that they have tyrannical power. They're actually transferring power to the people, and they don't realize what they're doing is standing on the shoulders of the poor, and they are destabilizing their own foundation with every action that they take against the social services. So eventually that pyramid will just break. The rich will fall first. The poor will also fall, but they will not have as far to fall. One of the big reasons for policing is if you have a system of private ownership, you have to be able to brutalize the people who have nothing and nothing to lose from threatening the people who have everything to lose. I think that we've had this view of like, why aren't people out in the streets? Why aren't people protesting? You're going to see more of that. April 5th is happening soon. But I ultimately think that this is a quiet revolution. This is one that is mainly done through staying at home, mainly done through quiet non-participation. And I think that that's a really wise way to do it. We are using the technology that we have to make our voices heard in the only way that they can be. I also think that we have crossed this precipice. This is going to be the beginning of the weird times, the weird economic times. I think that there's going to be weird stuff happening that is unprecedented for our lifetimes. Instability of energy production, instability, like maybe you won't be able to buy gas. All kinds of weird stuff is going to be happening like that. And this is what happens when countries decline and come out of power. We would do well to study the revolutions in history that have happened. We would do well to study the countries that got taken over by the US, like what happened in those countries. Because it just seems to be that if you practice something, if you visit some trauma on someone, that trauma will come home to roost in your own country. And I think that a lot of the brutality that we've shown is just coming home to our own people. If you're having a lot of money anxiety, I have 2 supports I can give you. The first is a PDF guide that I wrote. It is a 70-page guide called Surviving Capitalism for Now. And it basically helps you evaluate where you're at. It's like, what are your resources? What are your skills? What is your location? What is your capacity? How do we evaluate what you can contribute? Let's look for your energy exchanges. How can you exchange energy with others, maybe in ways that you haven't thought or ways that people wouldn't normally pay you for? And how can you reevaluate your value so that you don't have to play by capitalism's board game rules? You can kind of play by your own rules. The second is a meditation for money anxiety. You can go to my Patreon and it's posted there. I'm also going to post it on YouTube. And I have a lot of meditations that I do in case you like my meditations. Those are also on Patreon. So yeah, I hope that gives you some solace. We're going to be okay. We're going to go through some changes. But we're going to be okay.